So who am I to speak to you today? You've had celebrities in the past, very highbrow physicians, and I looked at the past and I said, wow, why am I going to be standing up in front of this incredible group? And I had to think about that. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about the perspective of an ordinary person. I'm an ordinary woman, just like many other people are ordinary people in this audience. I didn't have the wealth to have chauffeurs to take me to the hospital. I live in New York City. I take buses and subways. I didn't have somebody to cook my meals or go shopping for me, or I'm single, I live by myself. I'm an ordinary woman who went through an extraordinary experience like many of you did, and I come here to share that with you today. So let's backtrack. It is August of 2009. My life is going great. I had moved to New York 3.5 years before that. It was a reinvention at age 60. I was excited to be living in the Big Apple. It had been my dream my whole entire life to do that, and everything was going well. And I had quite a few speaking gigs. I was getting on airplanes. I was flying places. And who knew? I walked into my gynecologist's office for my normal gynecological exam, and she did a breast exam, as they always do. And she said, Ann, I feel something. She said, it's over here. She said, reach over, feel it. And I had very lumpy, kind of fibrous breasts, so I didn't pay a lot of attention. She said, no, this one feels different. I said, okay, yeah, I feel it. She said, you need to go get a mammogram and an ultrasound right away. I said, but I just had one. I'm sure it's fine. She said, no, go and do it again. So 3 days later, I'm in the radiologist's clinic. They do a mammogram on me, and nothing showed up. Absolutely nothing. They squished me for no purpose at all. And I was getting excited. I thought maybe there's nothing there. I don't have to worry. Maybe we just felt something that's always been there before and I didn't pay any attention. I said, my doctor's kind of concerned, so let's do the ultrasound and make sure. So we did the ultrasound, and the technician says, nada, I don't see anything. Then I was really getting excited. This is great news. And I said, well, maybe we better just be really thorough. So she called in the radiologist, who said, show me exactly where it was. I put her hand on it. She put the wand on it. And she says, oh, there it is. And it's big. And I said, do you think so? Like I'm going to lie about this? Of course it's there. But it's scary, isn't it, that they couldn't pick it up? It's something that we have to look at for the future, because a lot of cancers for women in their breasts are not caught. So she said, we need to do a biopsy. I said, of course. She said, of course, we can't do it today. So I had to wait over the weekend, come back, have the biopsy, and the next day my doctor calls me and says, Ann, it's malignant. You have breast cancer. That's a day I will never forget, and many of you in this room will never forget, whether it was your cancer or whether it was the cancer of your loved one. It's a day that will go down in history. Like I said, doing well, 63, living in New York City, the world of my dreams. I had just published, let me show you something here. By the way, this is how I looked before. I had very spiky, frosted hair. It was my brand, by the way. You know what a brand is? It was how I identified myself. Sometimes when people would put together catalogs of me speaking at an event, they would put in like a cartoon picture of that kind of frosted, spiky hair. So believe me, when I started thinking about cancer and that I might lose my hair, I was not willing to let go of that. More to be continued. Anyhow, I had just finished publishing my second book, which was called 60 Sexy, Sassy, and Free, A Real Woman's Story of Reinvention. I thought, I'm going to hit the speaking circuit. I'm going to talk about what it's like to be a divorced woman in my 50s, starting over, moving to New York at 60, being very brave and courageous. And 4 months later, I get this breast cancer diagnosis. Believe me, it was not in my plan. But then again, is it in anybody's plan? I don't think so. All right, so as in the classic movie, somebody says, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Well, yes, Virginia, there really is life after cancer, eventually. But until you get there, you have to go through the cancer. So we're going to be talking about the journey from my perspective, and I want you to be able to think about it from your perspective. Will life get back to normal? What does normal mean? They talk about the new normal after cancer. Will your life be the same? I don't know. That will be up to you and your condition and your loved ones. Maybe you'll choose to make some big changes. We'll talk about that as well. How long does it take for life to come back? As long as it takes. I wish I had a theory for you. I wish I had a mathematical equation, but I don't. So I'm going to continue to share my journey. And why is what I say important? I thought about that. Well, why is what I say really going to make a difference? But the truth of the matter is, any one of you who has gone through this illness could be standing up here talking about your journey, because it's your perspective. I'm only going to share my perspective and my experience because we each have a right to do that. And it's our being vocal and sharing that that makes a difference in the future for other people facing this interesting illness. If I can do it with all of the circumstances I'm going to share with you, then guess what? You can do it too. I'm a survivor. There's many survivors, but I also like to call myself a thriver. A thriver is someone who flourishes and grows, and you will grow through this process if you let yourself, and you know that that's the truth. I would have these conversations with myself, and in the very beginning, before I even had surgery, and it would go something like this. It would be like, "Anne, you have cancer," and I would say, "Okay, I can handle it." And then I'd say, "Yes, but do you know that it's going to drastically change your life?" And I said, "Yes, I can handle it." And then I'd say, "But do you know, blah, 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 fill in the blank." And I'd say, "Yes, I can handle it," thinking I was really great and able to handle it. And then all of a sudden I would burst into tears, and I'd have all these anxious thoughts like, "Oh my gosh, but what happens with surgery? And what if I don't make it off the table? And what if they find more? And what if they can't contain it? And then what about chemotherapy? And am I going to lose my hair?" And when I would go on and on and on, and I would cry and make myself tired, and then I would have to go to sleep or take a nap, or sometimes I'd get up and take a walk or go to a movie or anything to discredit this monkey brain of mine that would talk me through it. Now, why am I telling you that? Because it's normal. Everybody goes through that little monkey brain, that talking brain that brings up all the issues and all the anxiety. And if you don't acknowledge it, you're suppressing it. And I can tell you, as a therapist, suppressing your feelings is not a good thing to do. So, after all that monkey brain stuff, I finally decided that I was going to take a new approach to this cancer. I was going to take it on as though it were a research project. I was going to take it on as this little curious cat looks like, with a sense of curiosity, a sense of research, a sense of I'm going to watch it every step of the way, and I'm going to try and figure out what it is that this is all about and how I'm going to handle it, rather than having preconceived notions. Just approach it with curiosity, as I do much of life. Everything that I do is all about reinvention, and reinvention is a lot about being in the state of not knowing. So I began to approach it that way. I have mantras. Those are things that I say to myself, and they help me a lot. Like, one of my mantras is, "It is what it is," and that helped quite a bit. So here's my journey. First chemotherapy. There I am, sitting on the chair with my trusty little mascot. And I know some of you are way back in the back there, and I don't know how much you can see it, but this is my little breast cancer bear. And I put a couple, like a Livestrong band on it. The other one I can't say in public. It has a very bad word on it, but you can look at it later if you'd like to. It's F cancer. And I had this on my lap. It was given to me by a 12-year-old who said, "Anne, take this with you through every cancer treatment that you go through." And I did. She was always on my lap when I sat in the chemo chair getting my infusion. So that's that.